James gets the name of Felix's informants and their meeting places. Knowing Sanchez would have the same information and would want to eliminate the informants, James goes to meet one of them that night named Pam Bouvier, who happens to be someone he's met before. While James is explaining what's going on, Sanchez's men show up and a fight breaks out. Why is this chick still dancing? Is she high? There's a huge brawl with gunfire around her and she's still just dancing away. Look, sweetheart, I seriously doubt your G-string is bulletproof. After they escape, 007 gets Pam to tell him what she knows about Sanchez's operation and to fly him to Isama City. Once in Isthmus, he makes a deposit of $4 million in Sanchez's bank as part of a plan to get Sanchez's attention. He then goes to Sanchez's casino and goes $250,000 ahead in a private game of blackjack, so Sanchez sends Princess Katana to cheat him and find out more about James. Oh no, James! Look out! Sang Sung is behind you!
Your soul is mine.
The plan works, and Bond,
James Bond,
gets a face-to-face with Sanchez, getting as much information as he can, pretending to be looking for employment by Sanchez. And then Q shows up to give 007 some cool gadgets.
Everything for a man on holiday. Explosive alarm clock, guaranteed never to wake up anybody who uses it. Dentonite toothpaste, to be used sparingly. It's the latest in plastic explosive.
I could do with some plastic.
After placing the C4 on the window, he sets it off, exploding the bulletproof window, and is about to kill Sanchez when he's attacked by ninjas?
Okay, ninjas aren't unheard of in a Bond movie, but in this one, it's just silly.
Their presence and the way they were introduced just works in contrast with the rest of the movie. They really just don't fit the tone of the film.
One of these kids is doing his own thing.
They could have thrown pink elephants at Bond and it would have worked just as well as these ninjas do.
The ninjas are part of Hong Kong's narcotics police department led by Sang Sung. It's funny, I always thought that ninjas was part of Japanese culture, not Chinese. But who am I to argue with writers, directors, and producers of this film? I'm sure they did tons of research. Here, set up to take down Sanchez's operation. Wouldn't killing him do the same thing? They're about to send James home with an MI6 agent when Sanchez shoots up the place with a tank. How did Sanchez find them, you ask? After they shoot up the place,
James Bond
wakes up at Sanchez's estate, where he plants the seed in Sanchez's head that the guy who owns the warehouse, who also happens to be part of Sanchez's operation and is arriving later that night, hired some assassins to kill Sanchez. Once back at his hotel, James finds out that his actions has put the operation of several governments at risk. Realizing it isn't just about him and his vengeance, he decides to make things right by killing Sanchez.
What? Wasn't... What?
When the boat arrives,
James Bond
manages to sneak the $4 million he withdrew from the bank earlier onto the boat, making Sanchez's man look guilty, and Sanchez kills him. 007 makes it back to Sanchez's estate before he does, and Sanchez, pleased with the information James gave him, invites him on a special trip.
Unless they're going to a trip to Oz, I doubt it's that special.
After getting a tip from Katana about where James is headed, Q and Pam go to back him up. James is taken to Sanchez's drug production plant, where Sanchez explains to his buyers how they plan to transport the drugs and gasoline. Sanchez's second in command recognizes James from the bar and puts a gun to his back.
After Bond,
James Bond
Sets the place on fire. They try to throw him into a grinding machine, but Pam shows up to save him.
Looks like the daily grind of his work was too much for him to handle.
With the factory destroyed, all that's left is... Boy, that's a really lousy blue screen. What was I saying? Oh yes. With the factory destroyed, man, that's a really lousy blue screen. That's like something they used to use in the 60s. Anyway, the only thing left is to get Sanchez, which, after an extensive action scene, he does.
You could have had everything. Don't you want to know why?
This movie doesn't suck, but it doesn't exactly live up to the Bond paradigm either.
The first half is extremely rushed. There is so much crammed into the first half that the events fly by before you get a chance to digest anything. On top of this, things that should have took place over several days took place over 1 or 2 days, making it really difficult for the audience to keep up with what was happening. The second half of the film was just the opposite. Everything slowed down to a crawl and it just dragged. Had they gotten the pacing of the film somewhere in between, it would have been a much better movie. It is somewhat enjoyable on its own merits, but as a Bond film, it just doesn't cut it.
Now, if you excuse me, duty calls. We're in country, you know. And I'm not even British.
Yes, I do. Ooh, babe.
Is it over?
God, what a terrible waste.